Hello everyone, Blue Star Saber here once again to do another One Piece chapter review, chapter 1059, the matter involving Captain Koby. Let's see, I'm a bit late on this chapter because due to a few things that happened in the UK, such as the Queen's passing and funeral, I ended up delaying my reviews and all that stuff, so I'm a bit behind and I'm trying to do this one now before so I can get up to at least the latest one by the weekend and all that stuff. I've got other reviews planned along the way, but this is the one I'm trying to do for at least today and all that stuff. If I'll get to another one tomorrow, who knows? Remains to be seen. But anyway, the actual chapter 1059 and all that stuff. But yeah, but before that, the Gemma 66R, an emotionless excursion, volume 18. Says hallucination gas, in which we see Caesar's clowns gas Trinity affecting both Katakuri and Oven into punching each other and dealing quite a blow. I've seen some Katakuri fans get upset how easily Katakuri got tricked with this due to the fact how you should be able to see the future and all that stuff, but again, I guess even he can't avoid Caesar Clown's gas, so it has led to criticism. I have seen some people say, like, why didn't he use this back in Punk Hazard? But who knows, I guess Devil Fruit abilities come when they need it. But either way, I think it's fine. I assume that, I doubt the two of them are going to be knocked out by this, so that does show how strong these two are towards each other, even though Katakuri is clearly the stronger of the three triplets. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how the last triplet comes back and all that stuff. But yeah. Anyway, the chapter begins near Whitebeard's hometown of Sphinx in the New World, in which we see that Marco has actually picked a ride off of Shanks and all that stuff for when he came to visit Wano and all that stuff. Let's see with him trying to convince Marco if he doesn't want to join the crew, and he says that he's had enough, and it's like he spent his life looking after babysitting the big time pirates, even though I think he's just 1 year older than Shanks, or even 1 year younger. I can't recall, but yeah, either way, he's done with his pirating days. So Shanks says he's not really a hangful and tries to ask his first mate to say that's the case, but he disagrees and all that stuff. The rest of his crew laughing, the officers particularly, you see. With him just saying goodbye to Shanks, we cut back earlier to Wano, in which we learn that the real reason that Yamato isn't joining the Straw Hats, which much to the upset of Luffy and Sanji, is the fact that Yamato says after the incident with like the Admiral and all that stuff with that wood attack. Let's see. With only someone like Incredible Haki can keep them at bay, and only someone like with Shanks' Haki actually kept him in bay and all that stuff. Since Kaido's not around anymore, let's see, more guys like him will probably just show up to appear, so that stuff. So Yamato can't turn a blind eye and vows to protect the place. Well, let's see, given the fact that neither Yamato nor Luffy, they could worry about the safety of this country and all that stuff. So it says like Yamato will be the protector while he's gone and all that stuff, even though Yamato really wants to be a part of the pirate crew and all that stuff. But Luffy eventually agrees to the decision and all that stuff, and asks Yamato to take care of the others for him, including Momo. Zoro tells Yamato that be careful, as Momosuke has a lot of pride, given that he's a young samurai and all that stuff. So Yamato's going to find an excuse on why, well, Yamato needs to stay and all that stuff. Of course, you see Sanji being upset, but this is when Marco ends up saying his goodbyes to Straw Hat, telling him that he's found a nearby ship and he's going to hitch a ride with them and all that stuff. So Luffy decides to say thanks to thanks Marco for saving his life during the Power Mountain War. I do wish he could have given Luffy Ace's message though, but I think Luffy was too traumatized by his death to probably remember, or at least think about it at the time. But who knows? But yeah, he's still thankful that Luffy's still thankful for what Marco did. And Marco briefly chats to Jinbei because out of the Straw Hats, he's the only one that he's actually got a history with. We're talking about how all that time we just jumped into action and asked him what was supposed to be reason for. With Jimbo thinking it was so long that they completely forgotten, but I guess it's just goes to show the friendship that these two have, and the fact that the reason they wanted to, and perhaps how much they've come to like Luffy and all that stuff. But yeah, with Marco saying that Ace will probably be proud of him, Luffy is laughing at this as they say goodbye and all that stuff. As Marco tells him that this new era now belongs to him and all that stuff. And we now see Marco heading to the island and all that stuff. Let's see, ending that bit of the thing. But now anyway, since the in-between of Act 2, we finally learn in this next bit what happened to Boa Hancock after the Marines' attack. As we're now back to island of Amazon Relay. And if you notice in the background, let's see, part of the island which used to make a bit of a heart has been sliced off and all that stuff. As I comment about how it's been ages since men attacked, and the town has been this sort of damage, with Hancock saying as long as she stays here, let's see, she's a threat. The Navy will come here and they're a threat to her people and all that stuff. So at this point, she just wants to marry, probably leave so she can marry Luffy and all that stuff at this point of the thing. But Elder Neon is like, that's all you think about, that's all you want to do at that point, depending on the translation. Let's see, and all that stuff. As we hit back to weeks earlier, because this did happen weeks earlier and all that stuff, as the reverie ended, the levely ended. As we see the Marines are fighting the Kuja and all that stuff, and they managed to breach the gate, and all that stuff, and we see that the person leading the operation is not Kobe, but actually Vice Admiral Yamakaji, the sort of bearded with the cigarette dude and all that stuff, that has always his eyes closed and all that stuff. I haven't really seen much of his abilities, but he was one of the Buster Call Marines, if I recall, from Ennis Lobby. With him just commenting that seems like they can't find Hancock anywhere. Let's see, and let's see orders to and there's been orders to send in the new Southern pacifistas to the front lines and activate the recording cameras and all that stuff. As we see Margaret and CP damaged and fighting, and they're commenting that they were fighting, but they can't seem to fight this current opponent because it's a little girl. Let's see, not to mention, Sweet Pea mentions how strong she is, and not to mention she looks like, it gets a little hint of a silhouette of a young Boa Hancock, at least, as she fires, one of the Pacifita beams, damaging quite a lot of things. But meanwhile, the Marines' battleships are being attacked, and they realize that being attacked by none other than Blackbeard and his crew and all that stuff. Let's see, with him causing a seaquake and all that stuff. And Blackbeard has arrived with with both Katina Devon and Vasco shot, from what I recall. Let's see, and I think this is the first time we've seen Vasco shot, and there's like a clothing and all that stuff, at least not prison wear and all that stuff. But yeah, Blackbeard. It's revealed that Blackbeard has come to claim Boa Hancock's power and prevent the Marines from getting it, with Devon wanting to cut off, Hancock's head and all that stuff, and add to a treasure of heads. Blackbeard says it's fine as long as we get her power and all that stuff, while Vasco's shot saying, we want to bring her back alive. Can we just bring her back alive so we can be, as he quotes, good friends? Let's see, with the Marines, asking the Vice Admiral if they could attack, Blackbeard, but he says they need to get orders from HQ, which is a bit of a bummer, but it shows that the Marines getting wiped out easy. With Blackbeard wiping a few of them out and asking them to get close to Hancock, with Kobe, as we see in the battlefield, realizing it's only natural that at some point that they wouldn't be that pirates would also be after Boa Hancock, not just the Navy and other warlords. With him trying to plead that the Navy doesn't really want to fight him, they just want to take her away into custody and they'll leave everyone else alone, and gives them his word. But of course, Boa Hancock's two sisters, which unnoticeably, well, let's see, telling Kobe, the so-called hero, not to get full of himself, as we see Bokaak in the background, as she declares that she will not belong to anyone and follow no man's orders. As she's now beginning to enter the fight herself, much to the pleading of her sisters. But anyway, the Blackbeard pirates are being attacked, as they have no chance against whatever they're fighting. As Blackbeard starts to notice the white hair, brown skin, and black wings, realizes that one of these Sepharans looks like one of the Lemnorians that, King's race is a part of. And it looks like a young Mihawk. Him against the PX and all that stuff. And it does a powerful slash that slices a bit of the island that we saw earlier. Let's see, with Blackbeard confused about why there's a little pacifista kid here. And uses his armament hockey to block it. And tries to use his black hole to do as much damage as he can. But Hancock enters the battlefield and uses her slave arrow to, petrify all the Marines, including Hapiramo, who is also there, and, of course, Vice Admiral Yakuji, with only Kobe seemingly left of the Marines, at least in that part of the battlefield. Tells the Pacifista to stop attacking. If he shatters anyone, they won't be able to be... because he could shatter everyone that's been turned to stone. And after a bit of ordering, he just stops it. With Boa Hancock trying another thing, and it seems a bit of time goes past and all that stuff, as the next bit we see is the Amazons preparing to fight, have been looking on and all that stuff, and noticing how Boa Hancock's powers have been nullified and all that stuff. With Blackbeard commenting about how her Pirate Empress title wasn't for show, as his two Titanic captains he brought with him have been petrified and turned to stone. We see everyone around them stone to stone, as we see Blackbeard grabbing Hancock by the neck, as we end up learning their new bounties, in which Boa Hancock has a bounty of 1,659,000,000 berries, and Blackbeard, Yonko, has now 3,996,000,000 berries and all that stuff. With Kobe telling saying that all the Marines around are now being turned to stone. And Blackbeard commenting that even his own idiots have been turned to stone. Let's see. As Blackbeard is hoping to tell that Boa Hancock is hoping to get her powers, but Boa Hancock warns him that her powers are nothing without her beauty, and that if you kill her, a new user would not be able to redo the petrification of the stones, and he'd lose his subordinates. With her, Kobe mentioning how Hancock is tougher than anything he imagines, so Blackbeard talking to Kobe about how this is not getting anywhere, and apparently reveals that he actually helped him out in the Rocky Port incident, and it's apparently thanks to Kobe that he was able to topple the topple Wang Zi, who was a member of the Rocks Pirate, who owned the place and made him the boss of that island and all that stuff of Pirate Island. With him asking if he thinks she lets Hancock go, will she spare everyone? But he thinks that he needs her to put back the men to normal as well. With Balhawk saying if they both leave, she'll do that. But Blackbeard doesn't trust her, thinks she's lying, and will turn her to stone next, and thinks that'll be the end of it, and doesn't believe that it's impossible for any man not to fall under a spell, not realizing that Luffy is completely immune, because I think Oda describes Luffy as an asexual, or just not into romance, or at least not into the romantic sense of romance. So he's going to kill her, but Kobe tries to desperately pray. But anyway, this is then when Rayleigh arrives. We're figuring that the Navy was coming, but not Blackbeard and all that stuff. Let's see, with everyone being apologizing to Hancock, everyone's shocked that he's here. Even Blackbeard and all that stuff with the Dark King declaring that he never really liked let's see, Whitebeard's old apprentice and all that stuff. We see Kobe and the Blackbeard pirates being shocked, with him saying that, telling Hancock to undo the the petrification, while he'll be the negotiator to get everyone to leave the situation and make sure that everyone doesn't overstep their boundaries and leave the island quietly. As we now cut back to like the present day, where he's talking about how they're just glad everyone is just alive, with the Amazons thanking Rayleigh. And we also see that Shayuku is here, and it was also revealed in her introduction that she was once the former Empress of Amazon Lily 2 generations ago, and was a former captain of the Kuja pirates. With her talking about how the progress always seems to cause trouble for someone and all that stuff, and how Vegastone Seastone prison paddle ships mean that the Calm Belt isn't safe as it was now for them. Let's see, with Elder Neon talking about how the Navy and Blackbeard's rival, they thought they were gonna. With Rayleigh talking about how only, his reputation was what kept, it was a safer one, as he doesn't think he could possibly have won against Blackbeard now in a one-to-one and a head-on fight and all that stuff. With them commenting about how these are the new weapons that the Warlords are replacements and all that stuff, but with the sisters commenting that not even a scratch on, and that one of them, they were shocked by, looked exactly like their sister when she was a child. As we then cut to a marine ship, saying they'll proceed to Egghead and dock the ship there, and talk about how, as they talk, reveal that Kobe has been abducted, and a narration in the newspaper saying the hero of the Waukee Port incident, Captain Kobe, has been kidnapped by the Blackbeard pirates, and his status is unknown. Ending the chapter. Okay, first things off, I do like how, we end up finding out what happened to Marco. He ended up, taking a ride with the, redhead pirates. And before that, he got to say goodbye to Luffy and all that stuff. Even, and they finally got that thank you, because this was one of the criticisms people said when the Way of Wano ended. It's like, you end that without them having a proper goodbye and all that stuff. So that was one of the issues addressed. So it's nice that that's actually happened. I do like that we got a little callback to when Shanks and Marco met during the pre-time skip. Though granted, they knew each other much longer, but when they met 2 years ago, where Shanks tried to recruit Marco into his crew and tried to do it again, but Marco, thinking that his time babysitting all the great pirates is done and doesn't want to do the same with Shanks now, and just wants to live quietly on Whitebeard's island, protecting it and taking care of everyone there. Even though Shanks tries to say, I'm not a handful, but his first mate, of course, disagrees. It's like, so yeah, and the rest of the crew laughs. You can see all the officers and all that stuff. So yeah. In many ways, Shanks and showing a sort of parallel to Luffy and Shanks. As I'm pretty certain, Luffy's crewmates would say, look how much Luffy's a handful. Especially given the last chapter, and then they got them all killed. But yeah. Other than that, we've also now got a sort of explanation, an actual proper explanation of why Yamato was staying behind, and the fact that it's what many people have guessed is due to the Admiral's attack. Yamato is worried about others coming in and doing damage that are strong as that Admiral and endangering everyone's lives there. So Yamato has decided to volunteer to protect everyone there. even though Yamato really wants to join Luffy and his crew. And Sanji's reaction is funny because, like, beautiful lady, even though Yamato refers to himself as Odin and the son of Kaido. So, yeah, but, oh well, but Sanji is upset and it's kind of funny seeing it. But I do like how Luffy's also, like, a bit upset himself, but understanding, given the fact that he also would probably be worried about everyone in Wano if, and no one's there to protect them and all that stuff. So, yeah. But I do like how we also get an explanation for the reason why she did during like the last chapter before about it'd be like Odin explore the rest of Wano, but no, that's just like the excuse that Yamato came up with because Zoro pointed out that Momonosuke has a lot of pride in him and probably wouldn't like it if it's like, oh, let's see, thinking that if Yamato thinks that Yamato needs, but if he feels like Yamato's only staying for protection and all that stuff, thinking he's not strong enough. So yeah. So even though let's see, and it's clear that Yamato really wants to join the Straw Hats and hopefully someday will. Now, whether or not that'll be before the final battle or not, or at least, I don't know. I assume we're going to at least get one volume cover, but who knows? I mean, Luffy did offer, let's see, a few chapters, the last chapter of Wano, that Momonosuke, Kimimon, and Yamato are all welcome to join the crew when they're ready and all that stuff. So I expect them to at least join the crew at some point. I figured my guess is we're probably going to have the current arc here, and of course, probably at least Elbaf before Yamato rejoins at the very least. I assume Yamato is going to at least be there for Levelly and all that stuff. Laugh Tail. I assume that Yamato will at least want to do that part of the journey and all that stuff. But yeah, I assume that Yamato will probably get at least the volume covers and all that stuff. I assume at least probably a bit of time will pass if I had to guess. Let's see, they'll probably make it like a month or two or so, but yeah. But who knows? I assume at the very least, Momonosuke. Yamato will probably leave once, Momonosuke has, let's see, become strong enough to protect the island and all that stuff, or at least become sort of on Odin's level. Because you probably need someone as strong as Odin, at least, to protect Wano from Marines and all that stuff. Or at least when the Straw Hats come back to probably unleash Pluton, or whoever does come back to unleash Pluton. But yeah, anyway, I'm glad that this explanation is done, but it does feel like this should have happened in the actual Wano arc. I don't know why Oda did it. But granted, it was arguably to probably... From my understanding, let's see, Wano was, of course, like I said probably earlier, let's see a few of his chapters. Wano was a bit rushed so Shanks could they could have Shank appear to tie into like the One Piece Red film, which on one hand I don't really like it when the movies interfere in manga. I mean, let's see, Naruto is a very good example. In fact, I think it ruined the series. But at least here it was like more of an arc ending than the actual series itself. But yeah. So yeah, that's all I got to say about the Yamato and Marco stuff. Good on that. But anyway, I'm finally glad that we finally learned what happened. Let's see, the rest of it is just mostly Amazon and all that stuff, and we finally got the answers and all that stuff. Let's see. And contrary to what many people were suspecting, let's see, people thought that somehow Kobe or whatever the SSG had brought in with them, or mix of Kobe and all that stuff, captured Boa Hancock, and she's now a prisoner in Marine Jail. So, I mean, I think there's even been some comic, doujins and fan-made, comic strips and all that stuff where Hancock is tied with Zabo and Vivi and all that stuff, but that turns out not to be the case, at least. So all those who probably thought that Kobe and all that stuff, on one hand, I like Kobe, but I think realistically, he's not on that level yet of fighting a warlord. even though he's now a captain and all that stuff. And he's only got like 2-3 years of training compared to some of these other people. But yeah, even though shonen protagonists with that kind of training always seem to be stronger than most people anyway. But yeah. But anyway, we see it's interesting to see the island and all that stuff being damaging. Oh yeah, probably one last thing I'll probably mention with the whole Marco thing. I assume that Weaver will eventually come there, and that we'll probably get an arc there and all that stuff. We'll have to wait and see. We have yet to find out what Oda is planning for that warlord. But yeah. But anyway, it's interesting how Hancock Ritzy is assessing the situation and seems to worrying about the people and all that stuff. That as long as she stays there, let's see, the Navy will just keep coming. Though a solution to this is no surprise is that she wants to just go and marry Luffy and all that stuff. And Neo, I do like Neo's joke about how you always do this, as she's always been the foil to like whenever like, are we engaged and all that stuff? Are you and all that stuff? Are we married? And she's like, no. Or you always think that, and why do you always have to act like a shy girl and all that stuff? So I like that joke. Now, as for the whole Hancock wanting to marry Luffy, granted, Oda seems to be a bit more lenient on romance the time skip than he was pre-time skip. Though granted, he's got a married life and all that stuff and daughters, from my understanding. So who knows? So yeah, he's got a bit more witty married life. He's more interested in doing romance. But now whether or not Hancock herself is going to be the one to marry Luffy or not, I'd say it's a bit unclear. I mean, some people say that's more likely Nami, and I will be honest, I've gone back and forth between shipping Luffy with Hancock and then Luffy with Nami. Now, let's see. Granted, don't ship Hancock and Luffy as strong as I used to. I mean, I did initially because, Hancock likes Luffy, but as I got older and also noticed, the age difference, that's especially pre-time skip and all that stuff. Now, granted, now in time skip, they're both appropriate ages for marriage and all that stuff. So, yeah, technically that could happen. Of course, let's see and all that stuff. So, that could happen. But then again, Nami and Luffy is like the classic tsundere relationship I kind of like and all that stuff. But, of course, let's see. Neither have shown really an interest of marrying each other, and I think even Luffy found anyone having the idea of having married Nami back in Thriller Bark as being brave, finding that the idea of probably marrying Nami as terrifying. But let's see. But I pretty much set it. But whatever, Oda decides the end. I know that. Apparently, his wife played Nami and all that stuff in the stage and all that stuff. So. Oda probably might have more of a bias with Luffy, but who knows? But with Hancock, but at least it seems that at the very least, Hancock now wants to go and rejoin Luffy, go meet Luffy again, which has probably led to some theories about, is she going to become a member of the Straw Hats? Because I do remember post Marineford, one of the biggest debates, at least at the time, was which of the warlords between Jinbei and Hancock was going to join the Straw Hats. It looked like Jinbei won in the end, but who knows? It may be that Hancock may also join, but who knows? Especially if she's going to be Luffy's wife. But like I said, Luffy's not really interested. Anyway, it's also no surprise that Hapelno is also there, but also interesting that is Vice Admiral Yamakichi that's leading. But yeah. And it does feel like a full-on battle here. Let's see. Oda is talking about the final war, though some might even argue that this is not, with the raid of Omegashima and all that stuff. After the raid of Omegashima, all these conflicts going on in the world right now, like the 8-Nation Revolution, the Marines going after warlords and all that stuff, Sabo attacking the Celestial Dragons. One could argue that the final war has begun. This final global war has begun, and these early battles are just the beginning. I know, it depends how you view it and all that stuff, but yeah. Based on the One Piece wiki, we'll probably just call them all as separate events or do not or battles, but probably not really bring it up and all that stuff, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how because it did not the One Piece wiki once did the Whitebeard War as a much bigger conflict and all that stuff, and had the bottom and had the Ace and Blackbeard duel and Marineford as two battles of this war and all that stuff. And I think people would argue that the Raid and the Imperial Down would probably counterpart of that conflict, as well as a few background details of like Whitebeard sinking the 23 Navy ships kept an eye on him, and Shanks versus Kaido as a bit of the battle. But yeah. But yeah, it's interesting that, due to as we learn this battle, we learn that, we learn Blackbeard was after Boa Hancock and for her devil fruit and all that stuff. And I do find it interesting that Blackbeard wants her power. Now, many guesses and theories that, he needs this power to do something and all that stuff, needs the power of petrification. Granted, Hancock says that, even though Hancock says that only her beauty makes the fruit strong. I think in an SBS or some Viva card thing, we did get information that Hancock's devil fruit does react to a certain kind of emotion, what people feel. For Hancock, it's beauty. For others, it might be fear, anger, all that stuff. So, who knows? It depends on the user. So I'm not sure if even Blackbeard himself wants the power and add like a third devil fruit to his arsenal, or give it to one of his crewmates and all that stuff. But speaking of his crewmates, it seems the Vivi card did confirm that the Vivi card info that about Devon and Viscos seems to turn out to be true, with Devon attacking women and cutting off their heads and adding to a collection, and Viscos doing some very pirate-like behaviors that they will never outright state, but maybe imply, and it seems like that's the case here. So I think I've seen many people now view him as like an utter and complete scumbag, all that stuff. But yeah. But besides the Marines being here, we also have got, but besides like this for the 3-year conflict, even though it looks like, the Marines who seem to have no chance against Blackbeard, and they can't even apparently attack a Yonko without permission from the permission from the HQ, because Marines are very cautious of fighting a Yonko, but it's like poor timing on the situation, especially when he's come here to fight you. Well, fight Hancock, but getting everyone out of the way and all that stuff. But it's lucky for the war. For the Marines, they have like the new pacifistas, which but I'll talk a bit more about later. But they did spook Blackbeard so much that he even used his armament hockey, and it's been confirmed that he does have at least that type of hockey, at least, because there have been debates. But the FIFA card did confirm that he had those two types. The two average uses of hockey. Whether or not he has Conqueror's hockey remains to be seen, but many people theorize he doesn't, and it's partly why he went with that. Why he went to get that. Why he wanted like the darkness fruit and all that stuff. But anyway, I do like the fact that Hancock, and we got confirmation in Hancock and Blackbeard's bounties and all that stuff, with Hancock's being like 1.659 million. Well, 1,659 billion. All that stuff. Having a huge increase in all that stuff, and it seems like every warlord, at the very least, or at least every former warlord, is now getting a bounty of over $1 billion at least. As you got Buggy and Buggy, Blackbeard, and Law, $3 billion and above. and Mihawk as well. Those lot on 3 billion. I might have actually said Mihawk, but yeah. And with Boa, Hancock, Jinbei, and Crocodile, over 1 billion and all that stuff. Some might say, let's see, Crocodile got a bit higher than Jinbei and Hancock because, well, he partly founded this new organization while Jinbei is a part of a Yonko's crew. And Hancock has her own crew and all that stuff, solo crew. So, yeah, billion bounties. And I am curious of why Blackbeard's increased. I'm not sure if he did something or they just decided, okay, he's a Yonko. It's probably about time we update his bounty, not to mention, given how that he should probably be this strong anyway. He's now the second highest currently active bounty that we know, though there still remains Dragon. So yeah, he's now still remained a step ahead of Luffy. So those who are a bit like, his bounty is lower than Luffy's and Kid's and Law's now should probably be happy. So there we go. But yeah. But anyway, I do like how, let's see, granted, one thing I'll probably say that another flaw of this chapter is the fact that, let's see, we don't get to fully see Hancock versus Blackbeard, but we do get to see the effects of their battle a bit, in which Hancock turns all the Marines to stone and all that stuff, and not to mention Blackbeard's 2 commanders. So for those who think, let's see, Hancock might be the weakest of the emperors and all that stuff. Now, it never really meant, let's see, besides Buggy. Well, whether or not that is true or not, at the very least, she's clearly shown how strong she is here. And the fact that she's managed to petrify a vice admiral and all that stuff, not to mention 2 Yonko commanders. So it's like, heck, don't underestimate her. Granted, of course, she's no match for Blackbeard. But yeah. But then again, of course, Blackbeard's power consumes devil fruit, so he's able to immune effects, but you still got to be careful and all that stuff. And, but yeah. Otherwise, let's see, because he still thinks that Hancock could still turn him to stone and doesn't think anyone can resist her powers. No, I think you'd be surprised at Luffy and all that stuff, but yeah. So there's all that stuff, but yeah. But anyway, it's but I do like, but let's see, much to my surprise, but I shouldn't have been expected. Dark King Rayleigh has come to save Hancock due to his connections to the Amazons, and we found out that his wife is actually one of the former empresses 2 generations ago. Let's see, the one before Hancock's predecessor, who I think Ellen Neon said that was probably dead, but that might have been a mistake, or let's see, they changed the mind and all that stuff, but who knows. But many people have been commenting that Shioku was probably a former Amazon, giving her knowledge of the place, probably how Rayleigh was able to find it, and a deduction of Hancock, not to mention theories that she might have been part of the legendary Rocks Pirates, and not to mention her history with Garp. So, yeah. Here's that generation and all that stuff. So there. And I do like how he's able to be the meditator and to intimidate Blackbeard a bit due to his reputation, but he admits that he probably doesn't stand a chance against Blackbeard now. And I do like how he just comments that he doesn't really like Blackbeard. Well, it seems like most of the Roger Pirates, former Roger Pirates, do not like Blackbeard. First Shanks and now Rayleigh. Let's see, they don't trust him. But it does show that Rayleigh realizes the limitations of his old abilities. But I do like how Hancock is acting like how fatherly figure he's being to Hancock as she's lying on his knees and all that stuff. But yeah, I do like how she ends up. Shioku comments about how advancement of the Navy has become quite troublesome for people like them, as they now have the technology to fight or travel to places like the Calm Belt. But yeah, whenever than that, the Amazons have ended up, commenting about the Sephims, which I've been not commenting about anyway. But this seems to be a part of the SSG's thing to replace the warlords, and apparently they are based on the angels and the Aberracaringians, who are and their names mean the burning ones, in which apparently that fits the Lemurian-based appearance. And from let's see, apparently their parents may also be a reference to the popular positions of angels, the Pluto, often because of having child and shorter wingspans and all that stuff, at least in the early stages. But yeah, apparently from my understanding, the members of this group apparently are, let's see, some of the archangels. I think Lucifer, I think Satan, who when he was before he fell to an angel, was one of the members. I think Michelangelo. I think I can't recall. I'm trying to find the members and all that stuff, but yeah, I'm not really too fussed about that bit. But yeah, but it seems like they are confirmed to be. They seem to be. Oops. The Sephiroms appear to be let's see. At the very least, we've got versions of Hancock and Mihawk, and they seem to have. Let's see. The kid Mihawk seems to have his own sword, and we see how terrifying they are, and we get a demonstration of their power with like the Hawkeye one destroying the part of the island and all that stuff, and Blackbeard was terrified of it and struggled a bit, where he had to use Armament Hockey against them. Though granted, they seem to be hard to control, as Kobe told them to try and stand down a bit so they wouldn't destroy the statues. But yeah, but for those who have probably been wondering, what is the Marines and the world government going to use to replace the warlords? How they're going to be a threat to the Straw Hats now that they've taken down a Yonko? Stuff. And it seems like we're getting, let's see, and it seems like we're getting more and more of the answers with the SGG, and it seems like this seems to be part of the thing by replacing them with their own versions of the warlords, who are pacifistas, and also have Lunarian DNA in from the looks of things. Now, the whole mystery behind them is unclear, but I think we're probably going to learn a bit more about them in this arc, given a few more chapters ahead and all that stuff. But yeah, but they've clearly shown to be a threat, and at the very least, many people are probably theorizing there's at least 7, and they're probably many guessing who are they among the warlords. So many are probably guessing that they're the young ones. So Jinbei's probably in the original ones, so Jinbei might be in a bit for a surprise and all that stuff soon. But yeah. Anyway, the last thing I want to talk about is Kobe and all that stuff. I'm sure the Kobe fans are probably disappointed that he didn't capture Warlord, but we end up learning a bit more about his history and the fact that apparently, let's see, the Rocky Port incident. Let's see, we get more incidents about him becoming the hero of the Rocky Port, with even Hancock sisters acknowledging it. Rocky Port incident, and apparently during this incident, due to his actions in this and all that stuff, Blackbeard was managed to beat a Choco, though I don't know what. Hold on a second. No, granted. Well, interesting. The Viz translation seems to. Oh, okay. Well, actually, sometimes called Wang Xing, but depending on the translation, it's revealed that this former Rocks pirate was. Let's see, was like the former owner of let's see, Hachinashu or Pirate Island and all that stuff. And thanks to Kobe, Blackbeard was able to defeat it and take his territory. So Blackbeard seems to acknowledge Kobe's skill, or at least his usefulness. Others seem to acknowledge him as the hero and all that stuff. And I do like his character and how he tries to defuse the situation, tries to plead with Hancock just to come quietly and they'll leave everyone alone. But of course, Hancock, not wanting to be enslaved by any man, the only man that, the only man that she decides to have any relations with, of course, is Luffy. So, so she refuses and ends up fighting Blackbeard, of course. But Kobe's pleas and desperation. So I do find it interesting how he's not been turned to stone. I'm not sure if he's immune to Hancock's charms or not, like Luffy, but because he's like a Luffy fanboy and all that stuff. Or yes, his other relationship and all that stuff remains to be seen. But he fails the thing and ends up getting captured, which seems to parallel what happened to him at the beginning of the series and all that stuff when he was kidnapped by Alvida and all that stuff. And I assume now he's Blackbeard's prisoner, or Blackbeard has found some use for Kobe and he's taking him along and all that stuff. Granted, this is probably going to lead to a bit of a parallel between Luffy and Kobe with what happened with Alvida, where he was completely helpless, except just standing opposite her and calling her an ugly woman and all that stuff, and then have Luffy punch her and all that stuff. But it looks like, given the fact he's been hyped up as a hero of the Rocky Port incident, which I hope Oda eventually someday show, maybe during the whole Blackbeard thing, but because Law apparently was the mastermind in here, so all these pirates here and all that stuff. But yeah. But at the very least, it seems it might be that Kobe is going to end up becoming, more build up to being the Garp thing, and it looks like, who knows, Luffy might end up helping Kobe, and they might end up teaming up to take down Blackbeard, or Kobe plays a way that he ends up becoming his own legendary hero in himself and all that stuff, but who knows. Granted, it's hard to tell because he's a captain, so he's not quite on the level of Garp was. He challenged the Rocks Pirates, but yeah, either way, it's a big news incident and all that stuff, and we have yet to see Luffy's reaction, but who knows. But it's probably building up to the confrontation between Luffy and Blackbeard. Overall, I think I'll give this chapter an 8.5 to 9 out of 10. I might have given it a much higher score and all that stuff, but I feel like the explanations and flashbacks a bit with Wano should have happened actually in the Wano thing. And I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't see full-on Hancock versus Blackbeard, but I think Oda showed what he needed to and all that stuff. And, of course, reminded everyone of their strengths and all that stuff, so yeah. But who knows, the anime might decide to show a bit more of the fighting, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, overall, I've enjoyed this chapter. I am Blue Star Saber, signing off. Thank you for those who end up listening to this review. Hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.